Welcome to another episode of the Concrete Logic Podcast. And today I have Todd Ohlheiser with CRMCA, which is Colorado Ready Mixed Concrete Association. Did I get that right, Todd?
Got it right. Perfect.
Yeah, and as well, he's executive director for CRMCA, as well as the Colorado Stone, Sand, and Gravel Association since 2013. Prior to that, he spent many years in the construction, concrete, and aggregate mining industry, managing businesses and operations in both the U.S. and Canada. Currently, Todd oversees both associations in an effort to positively impact legislative and regulatory issues. And Todd is a certified association. He has a certified association of executive and holds a master's degree in organizational leadership from Colorado State and a couple other things. Man, you got a list of degrees here.
Yeah, it got a long rap sheet, Seth.
It's very good. But today, the reason why you're tuning in today is we're going to talk about the CTAC program, which is a concrete testing adherence collaboration program to help improve testing accuracy. So one of our favorite subjects to talk about is testing cylinders. So those samples that we take at the job, and those cylinders have a lot to do with the day-to-day operation of a concrete contractor, concrete ready mix supplier. So this is a great topic, and you will get a lot from today's discussion. So Todd, I know we talked a little bit before we hit start, and we were going to explain what the Concrete Testing Adherence Collaboration Program is. But first, let's talk about, so we're all on the same page. Let's talk about these testing cylinders. Let's explain what they are, and then we can talk about what the program is.
And first off, thanks for the invitation and the opportunity to go on your podcast. And you've got a lot of good sessions out there. So thank you very much. Yeah. So I work for the ready mix industry, right? That's the initial role. And so there was a lot of frustration regarding what happens to their cylinders and so forth, and what happens on fresh concrete testing. So everyone has as an example, everyone has a driver's license, but you also have a driving record. And if you're certified to test, there is no way of tracking and seeing if you're doing it right. So we started with a program to do that. You had mentioned cylinders. The care of those cylinders, and especially regarding initial curing, has the biggest single impact on the final strength. So as you know, the cylinders meet a certain strength, compressive strength, and that's for acceptance of the concrete. Those cylinders have to be treated per the standards, and that is, obviously the concrete's collected correctly, the slump is measured and everything else. But again, when those cylinders are cast, they have to be in an initial curing environment from 60 to 80 degrees, depending on the strength, for an initial period of time. If they're not, that has the single largest impact on the final strength outcome 28 days later. So that's a big part of our message, and that is different from contractors or others that want to put cylinders underneath the blankets or whatever and see what's going on with the slab. That's perfectly fine, but that is totally separate from the acceptance cylinders that the municipalities, contractors, and so forth require on the jobs. So that's where we started to just say, how do we track that? How do we get our arms around that and kind of track what's has a huge impact.
Yes. So, yeah, I would think anybody that's been in the industry for any amount of time, even young guys and gals out there that have only been on maybe one project or two, but the testing cylinders, at least at one time on a job, it comes up. It's a subject of debate and stress and everything like that. This is a great program. I saw some post on LinkedIn. Actually, I saw there's a Canadian group that was kind of rolling this out too. Is that correct? They were doing
Concrete Association of Ontario. Yes,
yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah, it was like it was like giving out a speeding ticket to testing agencies is what it looked like to me.
They've transitioned a little bit to their own hybrid program, but that's what they're doing. They're letting people know, hey, look, it's not done per the standard, so awareness is a big part of any improvement. And so that's how they're doing it. So everybody's trying different ways as well to make people aware and raise the tide, right? Raise the bar.
So this is to look at how the third-party testing agency is performing those tests that we need, and what are the tests that we need that this program is overseeing?
Yeah, so the ACI Field 1 observation. So everyone, there's thousands and thousands of people that are ACI certified, and that includes, again, gathering the sample per the standard, running the air test, running the slump, running the temperature. Obviously those are the main ones, and then casting that cylinder and putting it in that protected environment. So everyone does most of those right. So we track all of them. We have 4 simple questions that came out of this, and so a person can pull up a small tool on their phone or whatever and log in and say, is the sample obtained correctly? Yes or no. There's no really area in between. Is the technician ACI certified? Yes or no. Have the field tests been conducted per the standard? There's a drop down that, one for air, one for temperature, and so forth. But if they're all done correctly, you just click yes. And question 4 is, have the cylinders in a proper curing environment, initial curing environment, which means is there a thermometer in there? Are they protected from the elements? Are they going to be at 60 to 80? And so it's all done per that day. We do not have a way to tie back to the strength, the final strength 28 days later. This is what happens on site. And so that's what we're trying to get our arms around, is what happens on site. Of those items I just mentioned, Seth, everything in life is the 80-20 rule. 80% of the problems are on question number 4. Has initial curing been done properly? And I'm here to tell you that with thousands of data points across the country, I don't think that question number 4 comes back correctly, but maybe 20% of the time. I mean, it's shocking. Primarily, there's no thermometer in there. So we don't know if those cylinders were done correctly if there's no thermometer and so forth. Were they in a cure box? Could be. But and it's not always the tester, right? Sometimes the cure box, the power to the generator is turned off over the weekend, and so that cure box is either freezing or 20 degrees inside that box. So again, those are the steps we monitor. So we have 2 series of, I guess, observers. One is those 4 questions, and that person has to be ACI Field 1 certified to be an approved observer. And
Okay.
so it's garbage in, garbage out. So, we initially talked about, do we want ready mix drivers on jobs to be observers? Well, they're not certified, so we don't know that they are aware of what they're looking at. But then we've since now, about 6 months ago, gone to a system where you can just log in and answer question number 4. I am not currently Field 1 certified, but I can take a little quiz that we have and watch a little video, and then I'm authorized to be a field observer. So this allows superintendents, maybe city inspectors, anyone else that passes a shorter quiz to be one of the observers for initial curing, which again is the biggest issue that the industry is dealing with. And there's obviously a lot of ramifications if those strengths are coming in artificially too low, not to mention the impact on over design and where we're trying to go with lowering carbon and so forth. Now, what happens. People aren't going to deal with low strength, so what do? Add cement. That's what the industry is doing.
Yeah, you're not supposed to tell our secrets.
I know.
So you hit on how someone could fill out the question number 4 related to the cure, but what if someone wants to be a CTAC observer? What is the qualification for doing the whole thing? What do you have to be an observer?
Yeah, good question. Thanks for asking. You have to be ACI Field 1 certified and at least 6 months of experience. But what they do then, so let's say Martin Mary, there's a lot of companies using it. I don't want to really single any out, but it would be in a positive note because some are using it very effectively. So if it's in Texas, Texas is one of our partners. We go through the state associations. So my partners through the Colorado Ready Mix Association are in that case, TACA, right? So the Texas is a partner of ours, pay us an administrative fee, and then their members can use this for free or however they're set up. All of them are doing it free at this point for their members. So when they have a person, contractor or anyone in Texas, they send us, I've got an admin or actually a PE running this program, send him a request that our rep for TACA says, hey, I want to add this guy to an observer list. And there's maybe 40 or 50 in Texas. Then JT Mesite is my guy's name, looks that up, says, we're good. He's in the system. Do you want to watch a little training video? And off he goes. So that's how we get people on board, but it's through the partners, which include, again, some big states, Texas, California, Minnesota, well, quite a few, but that's how we set up our partners. And so, but we do work with other state associates.
Okay. So how long has the program been around?
Well, I think it started in like 15 or something, but we started filling out paper forms and so forth. We just wanted to, it's transitioned as most things have with technology. But so I don't know what year we launched it. I think it was about a year and a half ago we broadened it to these other states and so.
So it's relatively new. Is it safe to say? What has been the feedback that you've gotten so far? And can you share some examples of where this has actually reduced the normal chaos that happens when someone gets a low strength test result?
Yeah, well, just let me answer it or kind of twist a little bit on that point. When someone does that, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of tension and finger pointing and who screwed up. And of course, the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be coring done because you don't want to be tearing that out. And now the project is, of course, 28 to 30 some days old, that poor. And so, a lot of things have happened. So obviously that's underway. But I will tell you this, that we've had some, I guess, misconceptions with this program that people thought that it was going to take care of the problem. And this only works with companies that use it. It only works with those who help themselves. So if I'm a ready mix producer and I have one of my certified technicians out there on a job observing this, and I know it's going to be a high spec job. It's a high rise, in our case, downtown Denver, 40-story building. Hey, or out at the airport or whatever the case may be. I can set that up and track these. And then we have the ability to pull up a monthly report or whatever frequency people want and say, look, here's what's going on this job. So we originally started with a short form of the NRMCA pre-construction checklist. Make sure that's done up front and then follow through. And as you know, the checklist has to be, where's the cure box going to be? What's the company? Are they certified? Things like that. And so then right away, before the whole project gets too deep, you can do this after 1 week, after one observation, and that red flag goes up and go, hey, Seth, on your job with Baker, it's not going per the standard. Guess what? There's no care box. There's no this and that. Now, not maybe so much on higher spec jobs that the Bakers of the world do, but you can imagine all the job sites out there where it's not really focused on. So it allows that communication to occur. Things still have to change. This is a tracking tool. It's not the magic pill. It allows for some documentation and things of that nature to bring the awareness level up and remind people, hey, this is a recipe for disaster. Our brakes are likely to be coming out low 28 days from now, and let's address it now. And those that use it in that manner, it's tremendously successful. Those that do some observations and keep that information to themselves, it's probably just another layer of frustration.
Mm-hmm. Some more paperwork to do.
Yeah, exactly. And the poor field technician, he or she is out there doing that, and they're busy. They're 2 jobs behind. and the weather isn't cooperating. And the last thing they want to do is stick around and do a side-by-side test by somebody else. But again, it only helps those who help themselves. So if those are done initially on a project and you get those addressed, look, you don't have to be out there doing those side by sides all the time. They can go off to the next job.
Yeah. As far as the third party testing agency, the technicians and all that, what has been maybe something or a result of this program that you didn't expect from them? Is it, I guess I actually heard this week. I shared with you that I've had conversations about testing cylinders, and the lack of following the right procedure has led to low brakes. Has this shined a light on how important that job is? I think people secondhandly just think this is not important. It's just something we have to do to make so we can get the concrete into to the pump or up on the deck or into the bucket. We got to let this person do these tests, and that's it. Doesn't have any importance, or it's just something that we have to do. So I'm just curious if doing this program, people that are participating in this are pointing out this is important. This is very important. This job that you're doing, and then maybe the third party agencies are now hiring differently, maybe, or spending more time training these people before they put them out. Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. All
Yeah.
of the above
Okay.
at times, right? So it could go a number of ways. First of all, what we see is that the good labs use it to get better. You had mentioned training and so forth. There's a few of them that use it for training, and they can monitor what's going on. There are guys out there in the field. You can pull this down. They can pull information on a employee by employee basis. One thing I want to add here is that industry cannot see what is going on with a lab, right? Only they can. So they can see themselves against the industry average, but this is not a scorecard to where you can go on the CTAC website and say, hey, I want to compare labs, and I want to pair. That is not what it's for and what is available. So there's no comparison, but yeah, people can use it to train their people. Say, hey, seems to be an issue here on a couple, on slump or something. Do we need a refresher on that? Many times it's not the lab that doesn't. There's still questions. You're a big time contractor company, and there's still questions about who's responsible for the power to the cure box, who's responsible for the cure box at times, and so forth. So it does raise the level of awareness and forces people to have those discussions, because doing nothing is wrong, right? I mean, the only thing that what I say also about the program is that it's not the cure-all. It does help those who help themselves, but it's you have to use the tool, and then if you do, it will it'll help you in many ways in the future, right? JT's got a great comment that he copied from some movie that he likes, in that there is no problem until there's a problem, and that is what we're talking about with initial curing. Is that you just referred to that, Seth. Well, it's no one takes it very serious. It's gray and it gets hard, right? What's the problem here? And that's so there's some ignorance, and ignorance to me is not, we're not dealing with people that aren't smart. They're very smart, but they don't know what they don't know about the importance of those cylinders and what needs to happen with them. So it is it has been taken for granted, and it's been taken for granted well over 50 years. We started when I took over, I ended up looking through some old board of directors notes, and honest to God, there was a note in there that said there was some discrepancies on the testing, and they believed that the testing wasn't done correctly. Now, this was 1972, before there was ACI standard certifications, but 1972, the Colorado Ready Mix Concrete Association has a record of low breaks due to improper field testing. So, and I'm sure that's not the first time, right?
Yeah. So what you said, the curing is the biggest problem, the way they're curing the cylinders. What are you seeing that is the most often, maybe the top 2 or 3 mistakes that you're seeing that's happening over and over again?
Yeah, well, you know, one thing that we allow in this app is taking pictures, and you would be surprised at how many cylinders are just still sitting behind the curb. They're sitting on the corner. They're you know, so they're not in the proper environment. And then the next thing is that there is no min-max thermometer in there. So you have no idea exactly what's happening to that cylinder. So those are the two most common in that, you know, no box, no protective equipment, and then, you know, or put them in a bucket and fill the bucket half full of water and assume that's going to work. So again, it's just more people not knowing the significance of not doing it right. And then again, many believe, apparently based on the observations, that, well, if I put it in a box, I'm good and don't need a min-max thermometer and things of that nature. Again, it's just assumptions like you were hit.
Okay. But what's the plans? What's the futures? What's the future of the program?
Yeah, so we talked about job by job. We're redoing our program. We've got general stats, right? We've got thousands of data points across, you know, east to west now. They won't help Baker Concrete. General stats are just that. They're general and it's somebody else's problem. This is my opinion now. But what we are redoing our program and our front end to where people can, and I'll just keep using Baker if it's okay. Baker company can go in and set up the job that you want. You can determine, you know, what jobs you want to observe, and so forth. So what we need to do is really get this more user friendly on the front end. It's a bit clunky now, I will tell you that. It does a great job of collecting data. People love the simplicity of the app itself. But then this information dump is, we need to get that readily available to concrete producers, to contractors. And by the way, I just want to say, you know, one of the big pushes we just started 6 months ago, and shame on me for not doing it earlier, is to deal more with the contractors. We started, you know, interact with, you know, ASCC, who, you know, is obviously a huge group, and Mike Hernandez actually turned me on to what you're doing. And so, you know, the contractors have just as much skin in the game as the ready mix producer. So, and the same with the city inspector and things of that nature. So that's, we're starting to reach out to those groups as well and say, hey, what are, you know, you should be interested too in what's going on your job. And the other part that we're dealing with, you talk about the future, is this lower carbon push. NRMCA, who we do a lot of partnering with, we love NRMCA. When Karthik was there, his stats said that 11% cement consumption was based on over-design due to improper testing. 11%, and that is huge. But you know, contractors, ready-mix producers, and so forth, the last thing they can have is a low break. It's just not going to fly. So they have to treat it differently, and that's not the future. That is something that we need to do everything correctly, and then you know, I mean, imagine pulling 11% out just by doing it right, and that's, again, statistically, but it's a huge number.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, if folks that are listening, you definitely want to reach out to Todd and get involved with this program. I think this is pretty easy to start on your own, but I mean, it's just the 4 observations. So even if, you know, there's not a program in their state, Todd, wouldn't they be able to do something very similar?
Yeah, we're working out the bugs on that. I should have probably had that ironed out. In fact, I just talked to Mike Hernandez 2 days ago on how we're going to do this, because we want to deal with the large contractors. And so we're working on that. I would say at this point, I would encourage people to go through their state association. They are listed on our Concrete TAC website, Concrete Testing Adherence Collaboration. So it's under Concrete TAC .org, and gather that. But short of that, just reach out to me or JT Mesite, who you'll see on that website as well. And we're making some things work one off right now. This allows companies to go cross state lines. we had some companies that were working in Minnesota and then going, the same crew, of course, is going to go down into Iowa and so forth. Well, you don't want to deal with a whole separate deal all the time. So we've made that change. So we are making changes as necessary to make this as easy as possible to be used.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great program. It seems like very simple to make such an observation and to stem these type of problems from happening. So I think it's a great program. I'm so happy you came on the show and shared this. Just shout out to Mike Hernandez for connecting Todd and I up. Mike's with the ASCC group. Todd, I appreciate you coming on the show today. We'll put all the contact information for Todd and the CTAC program in the show notes. So you'll want to check out the show notes, go through there. We'll put all the appropriate links and contact information for you so you know how to reach to Todd. Todd, thank you for coming on the show today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right. Until next time, folks, let's keep it concrete.